Hello, Dave and Joan Maroney here with the very special, urgent, quick notice meeting. Joan?
Right. Well, about a week or so ago, we put out a panel discussion with Maureen Flynn from Signs and Wonders and Praying Fast for America. We had Oscar Delgado from St. Michael Film. We had Kieran Japson from John Leaps and Dr. Peter Howard from the Fulton Sheen Institute. And we talked about the connection between the upcoming solar eclipse that's happening here in just a few days on April 8th, 2024. And tying together the significance of the timing of it happening that a lot of other people we think missed. The significance of it happening exactly one day after the Feast of Divine Mercy, which is on the octave of Easter, the highest feast of the church, and the eighth day is even greater. We connected it and discussed the blood moons that are occurring 2 before and 2 after. We talked about April 8th being also the Feast of the Annunciation. It's normally on March 25th, but because it happened during Holy Week, it has to be moved to after Easter. So that's happening on Monday. And then today, as many of you know, there's some earth-shattering things that have happened, literally earth-shattering things that had happened. On April 3rd, the Statue of Liberty was hit by lightning. It was a very dramatic, terrible storm. Boats were sinking in the harbor. And then also today, which is April
5th.
5th, a
4.8.
A 4.8 earthquake that shook the ground in New Jersey. I believe I heard that the epicenter was Lebanon, New Jersey, but it's felt throughout Pennsylvania, Maryland. They told us that at the National Shrine of Divine Mercy in Stockbridge, the ground even shook there. Right around this time when we're hearing this, I get a call from Maureen Flynn that says, "Oh my goodness, I found out more we need to share." And so here we are with basically part 2 of our discussion. Welcome back, Maureen, and we're eager to hear what you have to share.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we're doing this too, to really encourage all of us to continue what we've been doing, which is calling for this 54-day rosary novena for mercy. And we've got Divine Mercy coming up this Sunday, which is amazing, the day before this eclipse. I mean, there's a lot of these tie-ins. Okay, so what I was
and let me just interject. And last time too, we also told people the Easter season ends with Pentecost, and we will be continuing doing the novena to Pentecost, doing the sequence that will happen 40 days after the eclipse. Exactly 40 days.
DivineMercyForAmerica.org.
Right. But let's talk a little bit about the importance of what heaven is showing us with these signs, Maureen.
Okay. So I'll just quickly show what I showed last time when we did this. This is a particular magazine we did back in 2013, getting ready for the 2014, 2015, the blood moons and the solar eclipse. Okay, so that was in history we've had so far, not including this upcoming one, we've had 10 tetrads. And tetrads, blood moons, the coming tetrad. Tetrad is the solar eclipse with 2 blood moons on one year and 2 blood moons on the following year. And we did
a year or before and after.
Before. So for example, it makes it easier if I start with the first tetrad that we know of was at the time that Jesus was crucified. They believe it was April 3rd, 33. You know, these mathematicians have a way of going back and figuring it out. And so at the time when we were researching all of this, and you know, I don't remember a lot of it back then. I just remember we got excited when we were doing this research, and it was a very big long article. And I'm going to show you something real quick. I showed this last time. We showed this eclipse at the time that Jesus died. Remember, there was 3 hours of darkness, and they do know there was a solar eclipse back then. So they say it's around April 3rd, 33 was the crucifixion, and 2 blood moons before. One was in April of 33. Sorry, one was April 33, then October 32, then April 33 was the Jewish Passover. But there was a blood moon then, and then there's the blood moon Feast of Tabernacles. You have to see this. It's too much for me to really explain right now, but I guess the important thing is the first tetrad that we knew of with the solar eclipse and the blood moons was at the time that Jesus died, which I think is pretty significant.
Got it. Okay.
And then there were other years that we have in this article right here that we talked about, other years. And when these solar eclipse and the blood moons occurred, there were big things going on in those years. We can't go into all the years. One of them had to do with the founding of Israel, 1949 to 1950, also around that time. The 7-Year War, 1967 to 1968. Columbus, around the time of Columbus, 1492. There were big things going on. So what I found interesting was this eclipse coming up. We heard that the eclipse was intersecting. So the 2017 one that occurred, and now the 2020 that's occurring, is intersecting. And I kept on thinking, okay, what is it intersecting on? It was bugging the heck out of me. There must be something to this where it's intersecting. Well, then we heard from some different people that Carbondale, Illinois was the intersection, and that had become a big abortion hub. Of course, my ears perked up when I heard this. So we ended up doing some research here, and we found out that there's several clinics, abortion clinics. Now the Dobbs, and I'll tell you how this ties in a minute. The Dobbs decision happened June 24th, 2022, which happened to be Sacred Heart Feast Day and also happened to be John the Baptist. So that was a big sign. We all felt that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting was after that decision, these abortion clinics opened up in Illinois, which was a very liberal state. One opened up in Carbondale, September 2022. The other one opened up October 2022. Another one opened December 2023, and another one opened, we can't find the date yet. And that became like an abortion hub. The rumor was, we can't track this down, that there was a woman who was a CEO of an abortion clinic in a particular state. When she heard of these restrictive abortion laws around Illinois, you have the states of Iowa, they have restricting abortion laws 2018, which is good. Restriction is good. Indiana, it's legal up to 20 weeks. Kentucky has restriction abortion laws. So does Tennessee, and so does Arkansas. So the idea was, since all these states surrounding Illinois had laws protecting the unborn, these people in these states could come to Illinois and get their abortions, if that makes any sense, okay? So when I found that out, I went, holy smoke. Now, of course, only the good Lord knows for sure what this all means, but I thought it was very, very significant. And I remember watching the news the other night with my daughter and my husband, and I was telling them about Carbondale. And then on the news, it showed Carbondale, it showed the path, and there it was, because I had never heard of it before. So I think that's significant.
Want to show the map, Dave?
Well, before I do, I'm going to say, we're in Texas, and the San Antonio City Council allocated $500,000 to fund ladies to go get abortions in New Mexico. Mm. So, every citizen in the city of San Antonio is culpable for that. They took public funds for that.
Well, now the city's being sued and all that. Thank goodness we came back and said, wait a minute, you don't have the right to use our money. But this is, they think that they're above the law, and we can create these laws, and they're going to find some way to just ignore it. So here.
Okay, here's the path in 2017, August of 2017.
And this is where it went through all the different cities named Salem.
Okay, and now let me go.
Can you zoom in on that though? Oh no, that's okay.
Yes, I have another tab. So here is.
So Carbondale is in the southern Illinois, southeast of St. Louis.
Again, this is the 2017 path, and
it's right in the middle.
There it is. There's Carbondale.
Right in the middle of the path.
Right.
Wow. Oh my gosh, it is really in the middle of the path.
Okay.
Wow. And then it heads to Kentucky. It's coming from, okay. And then, so now, this is here's the 2017 path coming across this way, and here's the soon to occur 2024 path coming across.
Show where we are, because we're right in that path.
We're right in the center, Kerrville is right in the center of this path coming through.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so you look at and you see here's the intersection.
And then again here, you can see the intersection. There's Carbondale right there, and here's the intersection of those two
The
Amazing.
paths.
Wow. That's huge, I think.
I just looked up. I thought it said fetus, but it's
That's, yeah.
okay.
That's right.
Yes, but anyway.
Well, then we did some more research on, you've heard about the New Madrid fault line. And I remember years ago, my dad used to always talk about the New Madrid fault line. And when it went in 1811, I didn't know much about it. He just had read some stuff about it. And his big thing was at the time we had some of the biggest earthquakes, and Thomas Jefferson, he was there during the 1811 eclipse, and he wrote about it. I'll talk about that in a minute. But during that time of the there was 1806 was an eclipse, similar the way the 2017 was. And then in 1811, there was another eclipse, and they formed a cross. But the key was in 1811, it was September 17th, because Thomas Jefferson actually wrote about it. He documented this eclipse. But what was interesting was about 2.5 months later, there was a series of over 12,000 earthquakes.
Wow.
12,000, okay? I've got more information here, so I had to go look it up. And of those 12,000 earthquakes, the 3 top earthquakes of all time in the United States were those top 3 from 1811 going into 1812. Okay, so I'll read exactly right here. The New Madrid earthquakes were the biggest earthquakes in American history. They occurred in the central Mississippi Valley, but were felt as far away as New York City, Boston, Montreal, and Washington, D.C. President James Madison and his wife Dolly felt them in the White House. Church bells rang in Boston. That's the thing I remember my dad talking about. The church bells rang in Boston. And I wasn't quite understanding exactly what he was talking about until I was reading this. From December 16th, 1811, right? So several months after the eclipse, which was September 17th, 1811, through March of 1812, there were over 2,000 earthquakes in the central Midwest, and between 6,000 to 10,000 earthquakes in the boot heel of the Missouri, where the New Madrid is located, okay, near the junction of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. In the known history of the world, no other earthquakes have lasted so long or produced so much evidence of damage as the New Madrid earthquakes. Okay, that's huge. People, I don't think a lot of, I know I didn't know this. 3 of the earthquakes on the list of America's top earthquakes. The first was December 16th, 1811, a magnitude of 8.1 on the Richter scale. The second one was January 23rd, 1812 at 7.8. And the third was on February 7th, 1812 at a 8.8 magnitude. Those were the top 3 biggest earthquakes America's ever had. All right. According to the USGS, at one point, the geography of the region became so distorted by the seismic activity that the Mississippi River actually began to flow backwards temporarily. I remember hearing that. But again, I didn't know all these details. I just had heard it was such a bad earthquake, it flowed backwards for a while, but I was like, I didn't understand that years ago. All right, in the winter of 1811 and 1812, the New Madrid seismic zone generated a sequence of earthquakes that lasted for several months. I included the 3 large earthquakes we just mentioned. This caused structural damage as far away as Cincinnati, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri. They were felt as far away as Hartford, Connecticut, Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans, Louisiana. So this was affecting the country, but the western part of our country was sparsely populated, so there wasn't a lot of deaths. This caused bank failures along the Mississippi River, landslides along the bluffs in Kentucky and Tennessee, and uplifted in all kinds of tracts of land in the Mississippi River flood plain. At the same time this was occurring, there was a comet called the Tecumseh Comet. Some of them called it the Napoleon's Comet. And as this was traversing around, at the same time, all these earthquakes were happening. And so we're going to have, at this time, this Monday, the 8th, there's supposed to be, they call it the Devil's Comet. It's like a green comet coming by. I mean, it's a little strange, all this stuff when you start looking at it. Almost like it's almost like God's warning us, okay, pay attention. So the last time we saw a giant X over the heartland of America, it certainly wasn't anything to celebrate. I think I was really bothered when I was seeing the news and they were saying, oh, everybody wants to go out and watch it. And I'm thinking, this isn't necessarily a good thing. Is this something where God is allowing, through the moons and the sun and the comets, etc., as a warning? Because he used to, that's what he used way before we could read. He used the canvases. I think Oscar said that in our last meeting. He used the canvas of the skies for his omens, his warning signs. So I think something's up. And then when I heard today about the 4.8 earthquake that was felt in parts of the East Coast, and a relative of mine lives in the White House Station, and that White House Station was the earthquake was 4 miles northeast of White House Station. So I spoke with her and she said, yeah, it was really loud and the house shook, and she said it was scary. And then another person I know lives in Maryland and she felt it in Maryland, said it was very loud, and I haven't been able to talk with her. I just saw a text come through. So something's up. And when this all ties in with Carbondale, with being an abortion hub in our United States, to me, that's, I think God is not happy with us right now with what we're doing to his children. And of course, the remnant of us that have been fighting for mercy and fighting for life, God is hearing our prayers. But I think, again, we have to intensify it and really beg for his mercy on our country and on our world, and pray for conversion of souls. I started to pray recently for the conversion of souls of people who are very particularly pushing for the killing of the innocent. Because you look at what happened to Saul, he became Paul, and he became one of our greatest apostles. He's just so on fire. And I do think this is some kind of a warning sign for us. And yet we know God's mercy, and we know we can do something. And one of the articles we're putting in this magazine coming up is when these women in Brazil, because people are all upset about our country, they're upset about our corrupt government, etc. And I keep on saying them, just double down on the prayers, because when these women in Brazil, when the corrupt government communists showed up to take over their government in 1961, a bunch of women got together and started leading these rosary rallies, and then it grew and grew and grew. And I don't remember exactly the amount of people, but it just got so huge. And finally, like 3 or 4 years later, the head communist president and his buddies all just took off. They left Brazil. No one really knows why. I don't know the details, but the point is, prayer changes things. So we can't get so alarmed that we give up. But I do think it's a warning sign for our country and for all of us. Something's up. And one last thing, several years ago, a friend of ours that lives out towards the Kansas area, she was telling us that one of the government groups, I'm not sure if it was FEMA or Homeland Security, they're all tied in. They were doing these preparations because they were concerned that there would be the New Madrid fault line would act up again. I remember her telling us this. And I thought, but now, in light of what we know about these eclipses, right? And the planets line up a set way, and that pulls on our Earth. So it makes sense why this could happen. So I do think there's a lot to pray for.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think when the ground starts shaking, because so many people have been asleep. Tomorrow in the novena, it's for the lukewarm, and the Lord has given us time, It's like when you're trying to gently wake somebody up, and then finally you have to go in and say, get up, get up. I'm hoping and praying that these shakings are gonna wake people up, that they are gonna repent of their sinfulness, that they are gonna get on their knees and beg God for forgiveness for our sins and the sins of the whole world. And we turned to him with trust. And he said, my mercy is greater than your sins and those of the entire world. And the greater the sinner, the greater the right to my mercy. So the greater the sinner of a country where we are, ripping children out of the wombs of their mother. You had mentioned earlier, 63% of the abortions now are chemical abortions. And then once we're born, we're sex trafficking children, they're being abused, and then we're changing their sexes, we're mutilating their bodies, making them sterile. I mean, the evil one is doing everything he can to tear us apart, and too many people are sitting around not doing anything about it. Once things start to shake, and we've seen it, people are waking up, hopefully they're going to turn the right way and they're going to turn to God. And like with the Nineveh moment, people will turn to sackcloth. So ladies and gentlemen, the Feast of Mercy is on our doorstep. Pentecost is 40 days from now. Basically, pray with us. Join Divine Mercy for America. Go to divinemercyforamerica.org. Go to Pray and Fast for America with Maureen Flynn. Our goal is just to help you stay focused on how to fight this battle. It is a spiritual battle. Grab your rosaries. Be at peace. Ask Our Lady for peace. And just keep your focus on Christ.
And I want to say one more thing too, because my husband's been doing a lot of talks everywhere about the illumination of conscience, and he and I keep on saying, we just think that's the ultimate thing that's going to wake a lot of people up, is the illumination of conscience. Now, again, we don't know exactly when it's happening, but it's a lot closer than it was 20 years ago, that's for sure. And we've met many people who have experienced their life review, and it's changed them. And so that's something we have to really pray for. And I would encourage everybody to start being aware of the illumination of conscience, the warning. And I'll just show you quickly. We carry his book, and I tell everybody, get a copy, because this is the most comprehensive. I did a smaller book, which just talked about things to look forward, but he really did a great job showing how this all ties. It's the most comprehensive book, I think, written about Carbondale and the background and how it all ties in.
I think so, yes.
I've already called and said, you've changed my life.
It's at sign.org, and we have to go because we've got another meeting. But Maureen, Dave found that new Madrid.
Two things. We'll put the link to the book in the description. But the New Madrid fault line,
Interesting.
I didn't believe
where it is.
Oh,
here's Illinois. This is the area. Here's Paducah, Kentucky. Carbondale is right in here.
Wow. Dave, that is awesome. Yep, the New Madrid fault line.
And then the last thing, just real quick, our first video that we did about the blood moons and everything. Here's the icon you can look for on YouTube, and we'll put the link to that video also in the description.
The Divine Mercy for America YouTube.
Again, this is not to scare us, it's to scare us into action, right?
Motivate.
Pray more. Let's go to war. Let's go to war with our rosaries and our Divine Mercy chaplets.
And trust.
All right,
Jesus.
Maureen, and I'm sure here in the next week between now and Pentecost, there'll be more news. We'll see what's going to happen. But y'all, fear is only from the evil one. Do not be fearful. Be bold in your holiness, but be prepared, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and just be ready. God has chosen you to be alive in this time. So you have the choice to decide how you're going to spend that time.
And we got to sign off. Got people waiting.
Yes.
The next.
All right, Maureen.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Yes. Bye-bye.